obviously this game is really reviewing strongly, right? The Open Critic is out there. I believe it's still on, the highest rating game of, looking at it right now. With over 30 reviews so far, Forza Horizon 5 is currently the highest rated game of 2020. Then we've seen the Metacritic, I believe it came in at about 91, which I'm looking at right now. It's getting extremely positive reviews, especially on streaming, a great mobile streaming game because of the accessibility, graphical fidelity, ease of access, all that stuff. So the question I bring to this beautiful panel today on the round table is, can a racing game be nominated and win Game of the Year?
Yeah.
Is it possible? It is Forza Horizon 5 the one that could do it?
Let me speak to this just real quick.
Let's go.
Because I have such an issue with Game of the Year.
Let's go.
Early.
I brought it up.
Bitching.
That's why I brought it up.
Here's the thing. If it can't, the person should never, ever be allowed to do a Game of the Year award. It's called Game of the Year. Game of the Year. That's all games. And if that person cannot say that this particular game is not a game and can't be nominated for Game of the Year, then we have completely broken the entire way in which we cover games. That is so wrong. That is so wrong. And it's not even because it's Forza. I would say I gave Game of the Year to some weird games in the last couple of years. And if anybody had the audacity to tell me that can't be Game of the Year because of whatever, like a walking simulator, Ethan Carter, one of my favorite games. If somebody said that couldn't be Game of the Year, I'd be like, dude, you're gone. Like, why are we even talking about
let's
Game
get
of the
it.
Year?
So let's dive deeper, ACG. Now,
That's mine.
I'm love that you said. I just want to push back. I don't even push back. I want to ask you one thing. So because of what you said, how strongly you said it, right? The question is, why is the racing genre, in your opinion, like limited to even now to the point Everborn? We'll see stuff we'll see racing and sports combined into one award. So the question is, why? What is the mindset that a game can't win it? Like, what do you think they're thinking?
People who cannot be flexible in changing with the environment.
Yeah.
Old people that cannot be flexible in changing and don't realize that can be a Game of the Year. Because I'm going to tell you right now, what is an 8-hour game that's got some story? How can that be Game of the Year if a game that offers 70 hours, making your own blueprints, doing your own tunes, your own vinyls, 3,000 layers of vinyls? Dude, I've seen people do vinyl stuff that makes me want to cry because I have no talent. I can make a square on the side of my car at best. And these dudes make Homer Simpson. And it looks like Homer Simpson. Perfect.
Right.
So those people are people who do not share the flexibility and are not understanding that games are dynamic compared to what they used to be. It used to be just a couple games and a couple genres. Now we have an open world. Remember when games, you couldn't even get out of the car?
Yes.
It would be a racing game, and it's like you can't get out of the car because the graphics engine could not do it. Now GTA is here. All bets are off.
No doubt. Everborn, you about to jump in?
Yeah. So on the Game Awards point,
yes,
I always find interesting the dichotomy between the Game Awards and the Academy Awards. Right now, every year at the Academy Awards, the big budget franchise, generally safe movies, tentpole 4-quadrant movies, those are the films that may not even get nominated. They always win the technical awards, but they never win the big prize, right? But they usually geared towards the more original, typically lower budget, more creative projects. Now, it's interesting to me that on the flip side with video games and the video game awards, there's always an obligatory indie game that gets nominated, but it's really only the big budget $50 million, $100 million 4-quadrant game that gets nominated. And it's sort of like, so the Oscars shuns the popcorn movies and the video game industry praises them, and I always wondered why that is. And what does that say about those awards?
King, you chomping at the bit, and then I'm gonna open it up to King and solve.
No, it's subjective.
Okay.
You know, to be honest with you, every game is worthy of Game of the Year. Right?
Death's Door is my Game of the Year still right now.
I didn't get a chance to play it yet. It's on Game Pass.
Shout out to King's rating system for
Game Pass is Game of the Year for King.
Criteria
that
yet.
will be his Game of the Year.
Yes.
Right now, I ain't playing. get Snowbucks from me.
Continue, sir.
It's only $20, man.
And it's $20 I'm not giving. Just the same way you felt like you wasn't giving up your $40 for Forza. I'm not giving up $20 for anything else.
Shout out to Game Pass.
Everborn, you ain't seen this food this man be eating. He spends like a rack just on.
We see that spread.
I know.
He's
He's spending $20 on butter for the lobster that he gets.
but he ain't paying that $20 to Death Door.
You should be
Get him.
ashamed
That
of
is
yourself.
definitely a fraud
No
alert. I
butter,
would have
sir.
to agree, Everborn. Continue.
See, again, there you go, pocket watching. Because at no point in time, I got $20 for a game. If it's not a Game Pass, you want me to partake. You see what the chain says. You see what it says.
I want you to partake in greatness, and not the marketing greatness,
Yes.
but the Death Door greatness. That's all I'm saying.
No, a lot of pocket watching.
It's okay though. It's okay though, Everborn, because usually when it comes to these indie games, man, we pick up a couple to give away, so we balance it out.
Yeah, it's all good. Continue, kid. Continue,
Balancing
kid.
Game Pass.
Continue,
Anyway, listen,
I have a theory. We'll go to Game Pass the day it launches on PlayStation in November, later this month.
and I'll play it then. It's
Continue,
just the
kid.
fact that these games are subjective.
Yeah.
You know, like it's what you view as game of the year is what you view as a game of the year.
Mhm.
But these people that are in control, if they say that, oh, this game doesn't like reach certain criteria, I thought it was game of the year. The object word there, that word there is
Mhm.
game,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
if it's a game, it's worthy to be put as
Right.
game of the year.
Right.
So a racing game, Forza, can be game of the year
Okay.
because it is a game.
You down with it?
I don't
Okay.
care if it's a phone game, a
Mhm.
mobile game. People have a lot of
Yeah.
problems when what was that game that y'all had a problem with,
Mhm.
and it was the multiplayer game.
Oh, you mean the one I was in my family? you coming for me? Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
No,
yes,
no,
sir.
no. I'm glad
Yeah.
you brought that up, because the game that King is talking about is Overwatch, and Overwatch is a great game, right? And I just found it funny that the same people who would gatekeep Game of the Year for other type of experiences that didn't have a narrative. Those are the things I heard. Oh, you got to have a narrative. You got to have this. You got to have that. And when I found out that Overwatch didn't have that, right? Which, no disrespect to Overwatch, I just thought it was funny. So that's why I'm like, oh, so now that we know that, Forza Horizon and other games are different genres that sometimes don't have narrative but have these other great experiences, is it okay now? Is it okay now for those people who were gatekeeping and trying to keep certain games out of this mythical championship title nomination? Are we fully now open-minded to include everything? That's where I was going at with it.
I'm anti-award show, right?
Yeah, I know you are. I know
You
you.
know
You don't want
that.
nobody to tell
Yeah,
you how
so
to
am
eat
I.
your food.
Yeah,
I know. I
I've
know.
always
You're not gonna tell me what was good or what sounded great or what.
I feel you.
I don't care for
King,
that.
they give they give Game of the Year to games that aren't out.
Yeah.
Like, look at some of those trailer stuff where they'll be like Game of the Year award, and you'll look at it and you'll be like, that game's not out yet.
Game of the Year
I-
edition.
I've always-
Game of the Year
like-
edition in October, guys. There's a couple extra months. Like, what calendar are they using? It's just, oh,
I would
I've
just like
always
to see
slippery
this
slope.
year Halo Infinite get it because they bent the rules and allow it in, and then win just to eat popcorn and watch the world burn.
You just want the
I've
burn,
always-
burn. Continue,
I've always
Alex.
I
felt like-
feel if
I've
you
always-
are friends with certain individuals, then you
Okay.
get the time.
I know where this is going.
I mean,
Go ahead.
the people who do like a lot of the behind the scenes for what gets nominated and whatnot, like there are going to be, it looks like, some conflictions. Like, I don't know
Mhm.
if it's like conflictions. I don't know everything going on there. I'm just stating I don't know the process behind
Right.
all this stuff.
Right.
But like, to me, especially when it comes to Game of the Year, I've always felt like, to me, the reason, like, Game of the Year, I've always felt like it's that game that not necessarily was the best of the year, but pushed the industry the most of the year.
I feel
Like Overwatch, that game came out that year, had its own con, like almost out the gate. Like I remember it being like a phenomenal. Like, sure, it was only a multiplayer centered game, but everyone was talking about this game. Like, and I've always felt like we can't have one and not the other. Like, people say
That's what I'm
a single
saying.
player game's got to be a game of the year, and I'm like, that's not fair, because if it's a strictly multiplayer game, but it is the kind of the level and the kind of like move the needle forward, because let's be real here, like,
Thank
I don't
you.
necessarily, because I wasn't paying attention to trends and stuff back then, but Overwatch, I felt like pushed that it was so dominant in that thing that it kind of killed hero shooters in its own way, because it's like,
Yeah,
we can't compete with Overwatch, so let's not even try. Like,
Cliff Belinsky.
Yeah, when he tried, yeah,
Oh
probably,
my
yeah.
God.
Lawbreakers.
Yeah, oh, damn.
They broke the law on him.
You can savage.
What
Continue.
exactly happened to Bleeding Edge? Like, why did it just come and
Nobody
go
played it.
like that?
Nobody played it.
Bleeding Edge.
Yeah,
It was
nobody-
really
felt like-
bland. Really
Yeah, I
bland.
felt like they had a great concept. They just didn't build the walls,
Yeah.
so the walls fell down. Like,
Yep,
I
execution wasn't
really
perfect.
feel like if they would have actually, and I'm not saying that the game was doomed the game wasn't going to come out if Microsoft didn't let it come out.
Right.
Because I don't think they would have finished it because of the way things were going over there. But it's just like I love Bleeding Edge. Like I like the way they did it.
Art
I like
design.
the art design was good. I just felt like the core of Bleeding Edge was good.
Right.
It's just they needed to build around it better than they did. They needed more maps coming out, more content coming out. They needed to keep people in there, and I just felt like that's where they failed. What was that other game that came out with Overwatch that people were comparing it to
Gigantic?
Overwatch?
Oh, I know what you're
not
talking about.
Gigantic was a good game too. I like
Gigantic.
Gigantic.
There was another one that was
Oh,
kind of supposed to be in the Overwatch vein.
It was made by
I know-
it was made by the people who make Borderlands.
I can
Oh,
see
don't hurt me. Like I actually like it more than Overwatch. I know the game you're talking about.
It was
I can't remember
Battleborn.
Battleborn.
I actually really
And-
liked
and, like,
Battleborn.
situations like Battleborn, like I was saying, like Overwatch was so dominant when it came to its brand and how it ran in its part of that genre that anything around it couldn't even get on the mountain. And that's why I feel like, in terms of that game, there's a reason it got game.
Let me get solved and then.
like-
I'm sorry, I got it because I
But
want to push
I
forward a little
have
bit.
to leave here in a couple. I have to leave here in a couple minutes.
I know, I got you.
But like, I really just feel like the industry in general needs to restructure how they do the game of the year stuff. I feel like sometimes it does go to,
Friends of a friend of a friend.
I don't even necessarily think it's a friend of a friend or anything like that. But I do think there are some things that don't make sense when stuff happens.
Right.
Yeah,
And like, we were talking about the indie game getting nominated for Game of the Year. It's like, are they nominating that game because they do feel like it deserves to be there, or are they doing it because they're throwing the indie market a bone?
Right.
And like, to me, I don't mind if stuff is there if it deserves to be there. And I'm not saying the indie games haven't deserved to be there,
Right.
but it's like, if you're going to throw an indie developer a bone, I feel like that's more disrespectful because you're giving them that spot because you feel like, you have to for the indie scene, then give them that spot because they deserve to be in that scene. If that makes sense to you.
No, I
guys.
understand on some
'Cause
level
then
what you're
that's
saying.
setting
Nepotism
that's setting up that
addict.
indie. Because to me,
Yeah.
that's setting that indie developer up to fail. Because they're not going to beat the competition, but you're putting them in there because you feel like you have to.
Mans in them.
Yo,
Put them on the list.
But no. Addict is right. Addict is right. And I've been saying this for years. They do an obligatory indie game nomination every year. And ask yourself, when has the indie game ever won?
But I think putting the spotlight on it is, in a lot of ways, helps a lot. I don't know if it's setting, I don't think it's setting them up to fail because it's putting them on a platform. And then remember, like, and I'll get into this when I start talking. It's
You're up now.
each of
No. Let me
every
say something real
category.
quick.
There's categories that specify those games, right? So for that game to sort of punch above its weight and be in that category in addition to Game of the Year, I think those are eyes on that game that would not have been there otherwise. So I don't know about the failure part. I don't get that part.
Well, it's not that, that's free promotion, so that, maybe you're right on that. They are getting that free promotion. I would say like one of the exceptions is something like Hades.
Okay.
Like Hades was that
Transistor,
game.
Haley.
So when you see those type of games go up there, you were like, okay, I understand that. But sometimes the years be stacked, y'all. We can't admit that.
Right.
And then you see this random indie game that he's like, yo, that was good.
No, I
but
get what
it's
you're
really
saying.
better than this.
I
You
want
know
to
what
get.
I'm saying?
I want to
Like,
get soft. Get back on focus before we move on with Forza again. With Forza soft.
we still on Forza.
Yes, because we keep we're all over the place, and we got to get back to the
I'm
to the
sorry, I'm
final
sorry.
thing. No, it's good. It's good, bro. It was a good discussion. I didn't want to stop it. This was a good organic discussion. But Saul, like we talked about again, the Game of the Year thing. Is Forza Horizon? I know you haven't got a chance to play. I'm assuming you haven't got a chance to play.
No, I told
Oh,
you.
but
I
you
played-
spent the bread. Oh, you spent
Yeah,
the bread.
I spent-
Oh, you
I
part of the
spent-
million that's playing right now? That's
I'm
all on
part
$1
of
Game
the
Pass?
million. I did
Let
that.
that
That's
fool.
Forza. I'm doing that. I'm
Oh,
not
I
fool.
thought everybody
I
that's
am
playing
that
right now.
fool.
The internet told me everybody that's playing right now is on $1 Game Pass, and that's the one.
Not that fool.
Man, I am that fool. Thank you. I'll take that.
Oh, you paid that premium. Go ahead, continue.
I paid that $40 Game Pass premium to get a whole bunch of like cars and whatever the hell. I forgot what it was, right?
Is
And you
all
get
that stuff earnable inside the game?
probably if you play long enough, yeah, probably, yeah, for sure.
So you just want to jump the line.
No, but this is not. I'm not paying to win. I'm not paying to win. You know what I'm saying?
I love how King is preening about everything in life, but when it comes to buying premium,
Yeah, well, games. I know. Yeah, he definitely fraud no game.
Addict,
Yeah.
I thought you said you had to go. Addict, I thought you had to go.
Let me have a sound effect.
Don't be
King.
trying
Let
to
me have
throw
a
Addict
sound
out.
effect. Let me have a sound effect, King. I need a sound effect for that one.
You need a sound effect.
Because I only got like
I can't with that. Do not be playing that Dave Letterman stuff. Continue.
Before I leave, I do, solve. Once you get there, I do want to talk about like the stuff going on with like the game.
With the game, yeah. Let's get it. So let's get solved
I
with
do
balls,
wanna
and then
bring
we got to get into that. It's a good
All
discussion.
right. So when it comes to the game of the year discussion,
Yes,
that's to ACG's point. I think the game of the year discussion is broken already. It's been broken, right? Because when Keeley decides to do his awards, right, which are the ones that most people consider the main ones, or whatever the case may be, when you're not doing them in January or February, and you're omitting a good amount of games that come out mid-November through December, it's a problem. It's a problem because you're omitting. There've been games like Jedi Fallen Order, right?
Yeah,
what else?
That's tough. That was a tough omission.
In this year's case,
Halo.
from what I've heard, it's going to be Halo. It's going to be Forza as well. Going to be left out a lot
Wait,
of the
Forza
conversation.
misses the
Walker
cut?
got
Wait,
del-
Forza
delayed.
misses the
Do you
cut?
think?
I think Forza apparently misses the cut for the Keeleys.
Really?
Maybe.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm not sure.
Do you think
but
they should do it at the beginning of every year?
Absolutely.
Like they do it like January, February.
That's what he
do like
said.
all
Yeah,
absolutely.
year.
Yeah, absolutely. They should do it that way. That way you give all the games that come out in that calendar year the
It's called
opportunity
Game of the
to
Year.
shine. Exactly.
Exactly.
How do you omit a
game
good
of
amount of
10
games?
months.
And it's not like it used to be that, past November, whatever, 15th or whatever, you're not getting game releases, right? Game releases happen every single month of the year now. Every time is a good time to release a game. So for me, that process is broken in and of itself, right?
Okay.
A second thing is that you give people a pass when you have specific tiers and categories for these specific types of games as their own sort of game of the year within that category. And then you give people passes like, well, if it's here, then it shouldn't be here or it won't be here. And then when you look at that game of the year discussion, you have a lot of third person over the shoulder action adventure games. It's the same type of game all the time. And people have this assumption about that it has to be narrative driven. It has to be this super moving game. And a lot of times, right? Not I won't say a lot of times. That's too much. But there are times that the idea of playing the gameplay falls to the wayside in lieu of AAA production value or whatever the case may be. A lot of times that happens. A year that it didn't happen, which I was surprised, and for me, it was Sekiro. Right, I picked Sekiro, and I was like, Sekiro to me is the greatest playing game this entire year. But because it's niche and compared to a lot of other games that nominated, I was like, I don't know if it's gonna do it. And it did it, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe this happened. Another time, it definitely deserved it. So for me, Forza Horizon 5, as it stands right now, and if by the end of the year, this game still, I don't really care about Metacritic, but it is a good way just to aggregate numbers. Like, do you see the number? If the aggregate of this game is above all other games, and it doesn't have a real shot at winning game of the year, there's a big problem. There is a big problem because this game, I think what Horizon does that it gives you the open world formula that a Ubisoft game does, right? Because it does the same thing. It has all the check boxes. It has all the things on the map. It's like, oh my God, I have too much stuff to do. But the way that it breaks it down, it allows you to take it in bits and pieces. Pause. It allows you to play the game in bits and pieces in a way that those games do very well, right? If there's anything I would change about Forza in terms of the formula after now the fifth one, is make the narrative stuff more important, right? Maybe the Horizon Festival in and of itself could take a little bit of a break, right? Because it's that same format, right? But in terms of how they break down the open world for you, and in terms of how you engage with that open world, the different things, I think it does that perfectly and beautifully. And 5 is the exemplification of that. It is the perfection of that.
It's Ubisoft
formula.
Games done
fun, right? It really is where is that repeatable task that you're doing is different from moment to moment enough, so it's just continuously fun to do. And then when you look at the game that runs and looks so beautiful,
Right.
it's easy to stay in that world. So for me, if this game does not appear in point blank game of the year discussion,
You're gonna boycott them?
there's a problem.
Shut up, kid.
It's too late for that.
Too late for that. But